Oh, sorry, I fell asleep waiting for another Mark Pope commitment. Welcome to the Stay Hot podcast. I am your host, Patrick Kelsch. Thank you for your support. Big Blue Nation continues to show up and show out. Not to mention
small town roads, big dreams, gym floor scars, blue seams. I come from where they keep score. Real coach, real talk, real war.
Stay Hot podcast. I am your host, Patrick Kelsch. Welcome to the Stay Hot podcast. It's Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Been a few days since I've been able to get on here and do a show. Looking forward to it. Excited to see all the loyal Stay Hot supporters, as well as those of you that are new, just checking us out for the first time. Hope you'll like the show on your way in. Subscribe if you're new. It almost seems like, don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but it almost seems like a down week in UK basketball once we got the Momcilovic commitment. It's like we got what we've been waiting for. We've got what we've wanted. So there's not really like anything that can happen now at this point that is going to get us excited other than potentially seeing our guy play. Or seeing our team play, shouldn't say our guys play. Hopefully, Coach Pope can work something out this summer to where we can get us some summer games in where we at least get a chance to see these guys play and not have to wait till October, November, whenever the scrimmages, preseason stuff starts. So cheers to all of you that have made it in here so far. Those of you that have not, we're excitingly awaiting your entrance. But, you know, is that how everybody kind of feels? It's like, you know, I couldn't really do a show yesterday. I spent all day yesterday with my daughters. Took them to the outlet malls, did some shopping. They had some gift cards from Christmas, and that just shows you how much time we have when all, you know, my three daughters and I can all be together at the same time. My oldest daughter works in Moorhead and is about to graduate next December with an engineering. I just had a senior in high school graduate. And then, of course, I have a incoming freshman next year who can pretty well be ready to go at any time. But the other two are so busy, both of them, one with high school graduation, the other one kind of finishing a semester working. It was just hard for us to find some time. So yesterday we went to the Premier Outlets in Cincinnati and kind of had a full day of shopping. You know, ate a nice meal at Longhorn Steakhouse on the way back. And I'd already decided I was going to do a show today because I knew that, you know, I was going to do one tonight. So I didn't know, I knew I didn't need one yesterday. But, you know, have you all felt the same way? Like, no matter what, you know, after the Momcilovic commitment, you know, we were so high. Excited, adrenaline, you know, that was the one piece most of us felt like we needed to, you know, to kind of compete next year. Although I felt like our roster was a little underrated. I think we're starting to get a little bit more respectability now that we've got the Momcilovic commitment. But is that how you all feel too? Like this week, no matter what the Kentucky news was, it was kind of a letdown from the Momcilovic commitment. Like like when I decided I was going to do a show today, I sat there and I thought, I was driving back from Moorhead last night when I took my oldest daughter home. I was sitting there thinking, like, you know, what's happened this week that I could potentially talk about? And then it's kind of like, you know what, there have been some things that have happened that cause us a reason to be excitement. So I don't want members of Big Blue Nation, you know, and I think sometimes in years past, I don't want us to get to the point to where we kind of get spoiled again. You know, I want us to kind of be excited every time something happens. For example, you know, I feel like today gives us a lot of reason to be excited. It's move-in weekend. Kentucky basketball on Twitter have posted videos from Mason Williams Malachi Marino's back on campus. Actually, Malachi Marino's at the Kentucky-Indiana All-Star game tonight at Lexington Catholic High School. Alex Wilkins is on campus. Jerome Morton showed up today, and so did Reese Potter. So 5 guys appeared on campus today. That just means we're one step closer to getting Kentucky basketball back. I know that Mom Chilovich is supposed to be on campus tomorrow, and I'm assuming that some of the other guys will be on campus tomorrow as well, since this weekend has been tabbed move-in weekend. I'm sure some may come on Sunday. You know, some of these guys live out west. Some of these guys live, you know, many states away. Therefore, they probably have to find plane tickets and things like that to, you know, to get back to Lexington. So, but, you know, I kind of felt kind of almost like, I don't think selfish is the right word, but after the Mom Chilovich commitment, I didn't check Twitter near as much. I kind of felt like I was disconnecting a little bit from it because I had put so much time into Twitter, so much time into social media the last 2 weeks. You know, once we finally got the word that he was pretty much a Wildcat, you know, then it came out that he could commit tonight. Well, that was like on Friday night or Saturday night. So then obviously every 10, 15 minutes on Sunday, I'm checking, refreshing, reloading Twitter, Facebook, anything I can find that will give me that news. And then it's kind of like you feel let down, and then finally get the news we wanted on Monday that he committed. So we did that kind of spur of the moment show, kind of celebrating his commitment, where I rocked the old pink cowboy hat. My daughters must have saw that pop up on their Facebook feed or something, because they told me how ridiculous I looked. And, but I told them anything for the fans, you know, anything for the fans. Josh, I'm well aware. I'm well aware. All right. You must have just logged in. You didn't hear the beginning. Yeah, I'm well aware we have him. I still think Wilkins could potentially be our best all-around player this year. Mom Chilovich, you know, probably most likely could be our leading scorer, or Wilkins could be our leading scorer. Somebody put a neat thing on Facebook that had, I think it's Twitter, maybe it's Twitter, like Zoom Diallo's last 4 or 5 games at Washington, he scored over 20 points. So I'm not so sure, and we've talked about this in the past. We talked about it the last show when we talked about the Mom Chilovich commitment, that offense isn't probably going to be a problem this year, whereas, you know, our defensive game has to improve. And if there's one area of concern, it'd probably be defense and rebounding. But, however, you know, I think we definitely have a chance to fix that. So, with it being move-in weekend, you know, we'll have all the players, or I would say majority of all the players on campus this weekend. Like I said, the 5 we got on campus today was Mason Williams, Alex Wilkins, Jerome Morton, Reese Potter, and Malachi Marino, which, you know, those 3, Reese Potter's from Lexington, Jerome Morton's from Winchester, and then Malachi's from Georgetown. All 3 of those places are within 20, 30 minutes from Lexington. So, well, Lexington is Lexington for Reese Potter, but the other 2 all live fairly close. So to them to get back on campus today probably wasn't that big a deal. But something else for the weekend that, you know, excited, class of 27, Ryan Hampton. He will be taking his official visit all weekend. He will be visiting. He, you know, I still seeing signs of people who, you know, it's kind of crazy because I'm still seeing people out there either saying or speculating that Kentucky's last roster spot is going to Ryan Hampton. Mark Pope told you, Ryan Hampton's told you, the media has told you, he is staying in the class of 27. Pope told you long before the Mom Chilovich commitment that if he reclassifies, it's more than likely he wouldn't be a Cat. So I thought it was positive news that he stayed in the class of 27. And I also think it's very strategic. You know, if you remember just last week when the news broke that he'd be making his official visit this weekend, you know, Mark Pope was pivoting, Kentucky was pivoting, because we'd seen that before, kind of with the McBride and Stokes, you know, kind of I don't want to say debacle because I felt bad for McBride in that situation. I felt like he never really got the full I guess, celebration of Big Blue Nation to welcome him to, you know, our family. You know, I think they've done a pretty good job since then of doing that. But that day alone, all eyes were on Stokes. Almost anybody else could have committed, and it probably would have drawn much more attention than what McBride's did, just for the simple fact that Big Blue Nation had their eyes tuned into Stokes. But I thought it was very strategic of Mark Pope to have Hampton on campus this week. And the reason I say that is because he's going to get to interact with all the players. And sometimes, you know, it takes the players talking to other players to sell the university. Go ahead and build that rapport. Go ahead and build that chemistry. He's probably going to get to play some pickup ball with them in the Joe Kraft Center. So, you know, I think it's very, very good news to get Ryan Hampton on campus this weekend. At the same time, the players are moving in, and you know he's going to get the opportunity. And to be quite honest with you, all these guys probably know each other. We've talked about that before. Hampton's probably played up in AAU for several years. Probably played against some of these guys. Probably knows of them or have had some interaction or conversations with them. So. It's good to have him on campus this week. I think that's I think that was planned by Kentucky and very strategic by Mark Pope for this weekend to be his official visit. That would be the two that I'd expect to commit first. I will talk about that here in a minute, Keeper. Hampton is not reclassing, no matter how many people are out there saying it. It doesn't matter. He told you he was staying in the 27 class. Pope told you he wouldn't be a member of Kentucky if he reclassed. And then the media has told you that he's told them he's staying in the class of 27. But it seems like no matter how many times you say that, people are still speculating that the one roster spot we have left is going to go to Ryan Hampton. That's just not the case. Just not going to be the case unless something major happens, you know, and I don't want to talk about what potentially those major things could be that we would want to add a guard wing to the roster for next year. I think we're pretty deep at that position. Josh says, who's going to be the starting lineup for the upcoming season? This seems to be the question that's probably talked about the most since the Momcilovic commitment. It seems to be like Mark Pope has tons of options, whether he wants to put a long lineup in there, a big lineup, or go small. My personal opinion is Zoom Diallo and Alex Wilkins, whereas when they first both committed to Kentucky, it was said or stated by multiple people that those two guys couldn't coexist in the backcourt. They were both ball-dominant guards. It was going to be more of a hindrance for Kentucky than it was going to be, beneficial. But I've seen multiple national media guys say now that, you know, kind of comparing those two to like a Wall and Bledsoe, because Bledsoe was also a point guard coming out of high school. Now, they're not saying that those two are as talented as a John Wall, but they're comparing those two kind of be two ball-dominant guards, you know, on the floor at the same time with kind of comparing Wall and Bledsoe, or I should say Zoom and Wilkins with Wall and Bledsoe. So, but I would say my starters, in my opinion, are going to be Diallo, Wilkins, Cam Williams, Momcilovic, and Marino. That's the five that I like. Now, does that mean it's going to be that five? No, it doesn't mean that at all. I could also see him going, I don't see there's any world where Wilkins don't start. There are people out there saying they'd much rather have Diallo 1, Cam Williams 2, Momcilovic 3, Njai 4, and then Marino 5. I'm going to go on the record and say if it's my choice, I'd rather have McBride start than Njai anyhow. But my 5 would be, and I feel like the best 5 to start out would be Diallo, Wilkins, Cam Williams, Momcilovic, and Marino. That's the 5 I'd like to see happen. I'll show it on. I'll show it to you, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. But honestly, you all have to remember something. You know, talking about Mark Pope's daughters, and just the little fun they had. A lot of things are out there. People are asking, is it fun or is it foul? I think it's fun. You got to remember, as the coach's daughters, a lot of people are saying, that's not a great look from the coach's daughters. And I can see that part of it, but I can also see too, that the coach's daughters probably know these players better than most. All right. They're not just random fans. They probably know, or maybe even reached out to them or whatever. For example, they called Colin Chandler Pigface. They've known Colin Chandler for 3-4 plus years. I doubt Colin Chandler gets very upset about that. I think it was more in good fun than it was foul. But I'll show you the video here in a minute and we'll talk about it. I promised myself that I would not spread anything on here that I've gotten in social media, but I can say I've gotten several things this past week relating to Jamal Crawford, and I would say that all signs look positive for Jamal Crawford potentially being a coach at Kentucky next year. I'm not saying he's going to be, but I'm saying he's at least considering it, and he hasn't dismissed it yet, and it's very possible he could join the staff. But I will also tell you this. It'll probably be after the Peach Jam before we hear anything. The Peach Jam is what day? Is that in July? When is the Peach Jam? July 14th to the 19th. So if we do hear anything relating to him coaching, it probably won't be till after the Peach Jam. So don't get your hopes up. Now that I say that, we'll hear something tomorrow. It's just my luck. Because I ended up losing 5 subscribers over the whole, thing with me and Crash about Momcilovic. So I don't want to go on the record and say, although we did say that night that multiple people were saying it wasn't just Crash. I'd heard from several people before Crash ever said anything in the chat. So, for people to leave over that reason, and they got their feelings hurt because I said that he had already committed when I still think that he'd possibly signed his Kentucky contract, but they were still going over the JMI. But, we're not going to talk about that. Oh, look. Crash ain't here, so me and Holly got to be on the same page. She says also maybe after the Peach Jam. So that's kind of what I say as well. It's kind of what I've heard, actually. But, I do hear some good things that he is still considering joining the Kentucky coaching staff. So I think that's great news. You're way off, Bruce. You're way off. It's going to be July after the Peach Jam. Between July 14th and 19th is the Peach Jam. It'll be after that. Listen, in all honesty, Afio, do we need another they've got 27 coaches already, but that's kind of what I thought, Keeper. But, I don't want ever to have the reputation of spreading false news or whatever. But, if Crash would have been the only person that had told me that, I would have never said a word. But, as Crash was saying it in the chat, I looked on Twitter. There was also 10 or 15 other people on Twitter saying it. A lot of guys on Twitter saying it are guys that make money putting out this news. So it wasn't like we were the only ones that were hearing that information. So, but that's neither here nor there. It will be before July. Bruce, I hope you're right, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I think he may help coach his son's AAU team. I'm not for sure on that. And I definitely know he's going to be at the Peach Jam watching his son. I'm assuming JJ's team's going to make the Peach Jam, but if not, he's probably going to be there. Anyways, that Peach Jam is, if you want to go watch a good high school basketball tournament, go to the Peach Jam. It's the best AAU tournaments or teams in the country. And it's I've seen it once, but it was a really, really long time ago. And it's actually it is in South Carolina, across the river from Augusta, Georgia. So if you're down around the Georgia area or South Carolina area in July, I'm actually going to be in Vegas on July 14th. I think I'll get back around the 15th, 16th time. So everything I'll see on the Peach Jam will have to be through Twitter, but still, very very pleased with the news I did hear regarding that. Also, some other news that came out today that I was excited about is, well, no, I'll go that here in a minute. Some other news that did come out today. The ACC SEC Challenge, Kentucky will go to Virginia this year. I think this is a little underwhelming. Now, Virginia is on the brink of being a top 25 team. It will probably be a quad one, win being on the road. It's a non-conference game that'll help bolster our schedule. But, I just think, when I think of ACC, SEC, I just thought, Virginia being a little underwhelming. But they just that game right there will be a I would assume that it will be a kind of matchup of I guess styles. Kentucky will want to get up and down the floor this year. They'll want to score 90 plus points. Virginia kind of likes to play that slow down basketball. They probably want to keep it in the 60s at that. So I guess it will be a kind of a style of play and which style wins out. So, but this Virginia is not a team we get to play often. So, it'll be fun for that, I guess, for that aspect of it. But I was kind of hoping for a, I think that they may be top 15-ish. I know I heard somewhere between 15 and 20. Somebody had them closer to 25 and something I saw. Which, speaking of rankings, we talked about last week after the commitment where Kentucky would go. Kentucky went from unranked to 17th. Now, the thing with that is I'm okay with that. A lot of, hardcore BBN were totally upset with that being a landing spot for Kentucky. They wanted Kentucky to move already to the top 10, which I'm glad they didn't put Kentucky in the top 10. I'd rather us be kind of, the 15 to 20 ranking, to put all those expectations on us at once. It may take us a few games in early of the season to figure it out. If you think about it, we're only returning one starter. Well, I guess Cam started for some of the year last year, so I guess it determines whether or not he starts this year or if they elect to go another lineup. That's the one thing about Pope this year. I think the way he's recruited and the way he's signed this offseason, he has set himself up for a lot of versatility, a lot of flexibility. He can go small, he can go big. Even if he goes Cam Williams over NJ, you're still starting 6'5", 6'4", 6'8", 6'8", 7 foot. So, I mean, still, but, Virginia is one of those teams that, just when I say underwhelming, it's not that they're not a good opponent. It's more of just their style of play, not fun to watch. But if Kentucky can get them into a transition game, that'd be a type of game that Kentucky could put a little put a little distance between themselves and Virginia on the scoreboard, just because it'd be hard for Virginia to keep up. Yeah, I saw where UNC and Kansas also went from unranked to ranked 2. And we've said it multiple times that preseason rankings are nothing more than a talking point. People love to, I guess I would say people love to talk about it, and then it's after they talk about the rankings, then they want to argue with rivals on, what rankings are right, which ones are wrong, and so forth. And, no preseason rankings to come out are going to be what they end up 2 weeks into the season, or, it's just not the way it's going to work, just because a lot of people ranked right now are ranked based on reputation or tradition, and don't really know what to expect of the new players coming in. They don't really know how they're going to gel, what kind of chemistry they're going to have. So what's up, Peanut? Hey, if you're all, hold on here a minute. If you're all a member, see if you have the L's down emoji. I think I added it. If you have the L's down emoji, put it in the chat. Let me see it. I've got my YouTube open so I can see what it looks like in the chat. So if you're a member and you're on here, let me see that L's down. I'm curious to see what it looks like. Peanut may have started at the beginning. I don't know. But I would like to see what it looks like. What, Peanut? What? Hold on. Are you serious? Let me go in here and see. You should have. Yeah. It's showing on my end. Refresh, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, you should have. Yeah, it's showing on my end, so I don't know if something's wrong. Maybe. Kind of stinks. I don't really know how to do all this yet, but I'm still trying to learn it. But I was curious because I did do the graphic and I did upload it, and I made sure it's showing up. All right, let me show you the video of Mark Pope's daughters. Then we can discuss that. No, you shouldn't be. I mean, I don't understand why. Yeah, I'm not real sure why that is, because I just added it today. Maybe it takes 24 hours or something to add. Maybe that's it. But I see it on mine that I've added it, and I can show you all here in a second. I'll show you what it looks like. But if you're just listening, you're near a screen and you want to see this video of Mark Pope's daughters, I'll share my screen with you so you can see it. Actually, I think Kentucky men's basketball may have shared this first, but this is from Tristan Ferris. Tristan does a lot of work with Kentucky basketball. Yeah, that is weird. Well, Kentucky, you shouldn't see a lot of the emotes either because you're not. It don't show you as a member, but I don't know what's going on. I'll worry about it later. All right.
We got arrested for being.
Let me see if I can turn up this sound. So basically, the premise behind this is anybody that transferred out, they're covering their face with a little yellow Post-it. All right, covering their face with a little yellow Post-it if they transferred out of Kentucky. So that's kind of what this is.
We got arrested for vandalizing.
Gone. Double gone. Visible completely. As well as never existed.
We'll just put the head coach of Florida on his face.
We'll just put the head coach of Florida on Denzel Aberdeen's
Right now.
face.
Let's not totally stand out.
What are you talking about? Yeah, we do.
You can draw a face on them.
And then we should put a heart around to take it. No one will know who is. Like, who did that? No.
KY till I get paid more.
We'll put a heart on all the ones that graduated.
Hide evidence. Our fingerprints are evidence.
He's gone. But we love it. Doesn't matter.
They don't have yellow on Yelovich.
We were gonna do cake.
KY till I quack. And I will say that here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. I think these girls are having fun. I'm a firm believer that they probably know the UK players. They probably spent some time with them. You know, the UK players have probably been over to Pope's house. One of his daughters just signed to play tennis at Kentucky. And I think they're just having fun. I don't think there's anything foul or ill intentions. I think some of the older kind of sticks in the mud may look too much into this. You know, I can see them saying that you know, maybe it's just, you know, being the coach's daughters, it's a bad look. But, you know, these girls, they may not even be 20 yet. You know, two of them I know are really young. But, you know, I honestly, you know, I didn't look too much into it. I'm not really one that really thinks, you know, I would think that was funny. I would think that was hilarious. You know, especially something along the lines of, you know, when they say, you know, like Colin Chandler, they drew him to look like a pig and called him pig face. They've been with Colin Chandler for 4 years or so. You know what I'm saying? You know, he played, you know, Pope recruited him and signed him out of high school. They've known him, but, you know, they didn't even really say anything about Mo or Garrison, just covered him up. You know, now I can see why Jasper may take offense to KY till I get paid more, or KY till I quack. I think it's funny if you want to know the truth. I'm not going to read too much into it. I would hope that the media doesn't read too much into it, but anytime you do something like that and it gets out on social media, it's a risk that you don't know how everybody's going to perceive it. You don't know how everybody's going to take it. You don't know how, even the players, Chris says that Mo and Brandon Garrison saw it and they didn't seem to care much for it. Maybe so, which I hate because I feel like Mo and Brandon gave us a lot. I feel like they gave us quite a bit. So, it's just that I would hope that somebody wouldn't put too much stock into those girls just trying to have a little bit of fun. I don't think they had any ill will or malintent when they did it. I actually, very little bit on the internet kind of makes me laugh, but I kind of got a good chuckle out of that because I thought it was kind of creative, kind of, in this day in the portal age, every team has multiple people that leave every year. But I just took it all as in good fun, nothing more, nothing less. And if some people took it more than that, I apologize to them for being so wound tight. Have a little bit of fun, try to laugh a little bit. But, in all honesty, I don't think it was anything to get all uptight about or anything. I did see some people taking shots at his daughters online. And a lot of times when people are talking bad about somebody, if you notice, 9 times out of 10, it's from a parody account. They don't even use their real name. Those are the people in my eyes that are trying to just get stuff started. And that's just how I see it. This won't have any bearing on recruiting whatsoever, William. And I'll be the first to, I'll bet you, and we'll never be able to figure it out. But the thing I would say is this: I will buy you dinner at the restaurant of your choice if any recruit in the 27, 28, or 29 class says they didn't go to Kentucky because Mark Pope's daughters like to have fun. So if you hear somebody say that, let me know, and I'll buy you dinner. I just honestly don't think where you're going to see that have any bearing whatsoever on recruiting. And you're entitled to your opinion, as I am mine. I said it could be, you know what? If a couple of the other players did it, nobody'd be talking about it. But because it's the coach's daughters, everybody's talking about it. If Otega Owe came back and he put some Post-it notes over top of these guys, nobody'd be saying a word. But because it was Pope's daughters, they're going to somebody's going to raise a stink about it. I don't think he knew it. Didn't you hear him keep saying, we're going to get busted, we're going to get busted? I don't think he knew they were doing it until at the end where it says, somebody showed they were watching the cameras and said, oh, busted. I don't think Mark Pope knew. I bet if you walked in the Joe Kraft Center right now, I bet those yellow Post-it notes are not still on that poster. He may. I don't think he knew when they were doing it. William, it's 2026 and kids will do things if they think they're going to get a laugh out of somebody. And they have to put it on social media because that's how they get their immediate instant gratification. Okay? It's not 1972 anymore. That doesn't mean we like it. That doesn't mean we approve or disapprove. I'm saying that's what kids do nowadays. Regardless. I think they truly thought they were being funny. You may not have laughed at it, but there was a lot of people that did. There was a lot of people that did not laugh at it. So that's why this is a good discussion piece. Because you could truly take either side and make a strong argument for either side on why you feel that way. But I do know times are a lot different now. I coach high school girls. Some of the things they do that they think are funny aren't funny. We're constantly having conversations about social media behavior, things you post on social media. Our school's approach is, if you wouldn't want that social media post to be on the front page of your newspaper, then don't put it on social media. But they're kids. They make mistakes. I would say that if those other players had a problem with it, they may have reached out to Coach Pope, and Coach Pope's probably talked to them, and it's probably been handled. I don't really know. But I don't think it's a big deal. That's not bad behavior, William. That's not bad behavior. Bad behavior is drinking and driving. Putting a Post-it note over a person that they probably have a relationship with because they are the coach's daughter. They probably know the players. They spend time with the players. Poor judgment? Possibly. Bad behavior? No. Nothing criminal about it. They're not going to see jail time. But we talked about Ryan Hampton visiting this weekend. I think that's a great strategic move by Pope to get him on campus during move-in weekend where he can meet and interact with all the other players. The SEC ACC Challenge this year is going to be Kentucky at Virginia. Also today, they came out with the top 10 players that returning to college. If you look through this list, there is no surprise to me on anybody on this list. You may be able to find somebody that you feel like could potentially be on this list that's not. They're not listed in any particular order. That's what the graphic says at the bottom. This graphic was put out by Fox Sports Hoops or Fox College Hoops. Milan Momcilovic is, on this list. The thing that I find kind of funny is that all we're hearing about is how good Louisville's roster is and how great their players are, but they don't have one returning player on here, and that includes who a lot of people put as the number one player in the portal, Fiore Bidunga. And quite honestly, there were several different organizations that had him as the number one returning player. To be quite honest, I think that's a pretty good list. Somebody did, when I was talking to him, reached out to me and said that they thought that Malachi Marino should be on that list. I don't know if he makes that list just yet. However, I think the list is pretty solid, to be quite honest with you. Pretty solid. Chris says, "Let me ask you a question. If your girls would have did this and he was the Kentucky and you, I probably would have probably went out there and said, "Hey, girls, all right, ha ha, you thought that was funny, all right, but we don't need to bring any extra attention to it, and go take them down." But I still don't see nothing wrong with it. But if they would have done it without my permission, there wouldn't have been much I could say, after the fact, other than, try to make them. Of course, I'm sure the Pope girls know that when you're the head coach at Kentucky, you're under a microscope, and but I probably would have just kind of explained to them or talked. My girls aren't what I would consider sports-minded, sports-oriented girls. They don't eat, sleep, and breathe. None of them play basketball, although I coach girls basketball. One was a swimmer and played in the marching band. One was a cheerleader and dance, and the other one played softball. But I can tell you the amount of times any of them ever sat down to watch a Kentucky game with me or watch any kind of sport. They probably would have done it just thinking it was funny, kind of like, I would have done. But I just don't think it's enough for us to make a mountain out of a molehill. And I truly think they were just trying to be funny. I really do. Now, was some of their comments funny? Maybe not. Maybe not. But I do believe that that's what their intentions was to try to get a laugh out of somebody. Try to they're just, although their dad's the coach of Kentucky, they're still high school kids. Or not high school. One's a high school senior, the other's probably in college. They said that about, no, that was KY Till I Die. And that was about Jasper, Clyde. They called Colin Pigface, but they've known Colin Chandler for years. So I'm not sitting there putting any stock into this. I loved Mo Diabate too. And that's what I said, though. Mo and Brandon Garrison supposedly saw it and may not have cared for it, which they have every right to like it or not like it. They can do that all they want. They're entitled to their opinions of it. But, I hate it because, Mo gave us everything he had last year. I totally understand why, he left. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not so sure Mo could start for this year's team. I definitely think we've upgraded at least 4 out of 5 positions, maybe 5 out of 5. But until I see somebody replace Denzel Aberdeen's toughness, I'm going to say 4 out of 5 right now. But something else I saw today that I thought was very good news. Yeah, okay, sorry. I was sitting here YouTubing why the emojis weren't showing up. And it says once you change one, it's usually due to a recent change that's pending a review or a simple they have to review it before they allow it. So it may be tomorrow. If it's not on there next time, then I'll reach out and try to find out why. But I think it's usually, may just have to wait some time. But for years now, there's Clyde's got L's down. He's showing it. Can everybody else see it now? Clyde, do you have let me see here. Clyde, do you have Kentucky wins you lose blocked? Yeah, okay. I can see the L's down. Okay. Nice. Hopefully it starts showing up for everybody. All right. And I get that take, and I think, but if these were assistant coaches doing this and putting it on social media, I think we'd have a much more appropriate discussion. But this day and age, and who knows, Mark Pope may have said something to him. Mark Pope's maybe had them apologize. We don't know all that. We just know the video that was put out. But what I'm also will say is, I'm sure Mark Pope handled that the best way he saw fit. Whether that be whatever, but 18-year-old kids nowadays have to put what they do all over social media for the simple fact that it's instant gratification. Every time somebody laughs at it, every time somebody clicks on it, every time somebody likes it or loves it or whatever emoji they comment or react with. But with that being said, I think there is such thing sometimes as overreaction to nothing. But all right, now I won't be able to see the chat for the next couple minutes here, but the one thing that I know that has been talked about for several years now, and not just at basketball games, but also football games, baseball games, is Matt Jones talks about it on his show quite a bit. What can we do as the university, or what can Kentucky do as a university that makes it more affordable for the average fan, or makes it more affordable for a family to attend? And I thought this was a good step in the right direction, and I could be wrong, but this is only going to happen at the on-campus athletic venues. So Rupp Arena is not included in this because it's not on campus. This is basically Kroger Field, the baseball field, softball field, football field, anything on campus. You're seeing a decrease in prices at the concession stand. So I think this is a step in the right direction, making it a lot more affordable. Now, you probably don't necessarily see a lot of savings or just how affordable this is if you're only buying maybe just one. But if you take a family, say 3 or 4 kids, and you're buying 4 hot dogs, you're paying $12 as opposed to $20. Then you can start to see some of these savings add up. Also, look at the 50% decrease in the canned beer. I don't drink beer, but I know a lot of the people at the football games do. And quite honestly, if they do, 50% decrease in the price. Also, a big decrease in the water. $7 for a bottle of water. And I actually think I was one of the dummies that bought a bottle of water to the football game that I attended last year. But I do believe that that this is a step in the right direction to helping families attend these sporting events and help making it somewhat affordable. But I do know that somebody who's taken kids to sporting events and things. And even not even at like Kentucky, but even like at, Morehead football games. My daughter was in the marching band at Morehead State, and even somewhere like that. It wasn't cheap, So, and Catch Benatti says in today's economy, I'm not sure they have a lot of choice. It is good to see. I agree. But it's kind of crazy that wasn't Mitch the one that kind of raised these prices that kind of make them so outrageous, or was it just kind of or was it kind of like just from year to year they went up a little bit or whatever? I remember KSR saying one time that when they started selling beer at the stadium, part of the reason of making the price expensive was hoping less people would buy it, so Mitch wouldn't have to deal with the people being drunk. Of course, Mitch was never a fan of serving alcohol at the events anyhow, so that was always something new or something not new, I guess, but that was always an issue when trying to get beer sold on campus or sold at these athletic events. The K Club, they feed you free food the whole game at Rub, free parking, the whole 9 yards, worth every penny. I honestly don't go to enough games in person. Honestly, the Kentucky basketball schedule is right during the heart of my schedule, so I don't get a chance to see many games. But let me see here. Indiana All-Stars beat the Kentucky All-Stars 106-83 today. Or tonight, I should say. That is 100% true. I agree. Are you talking about from the ESPN Watch, the All Access, Holly? I started the outtakes but didn't finish them. I got started on them and something else happened and I forgot all about it. But yeah, I've seen some of them. If you're talking about that, but let's watch the videos of the players returning on campus and let's see what they have to say. This will be this is from Mason Williams here. Let me share my screen. If you've not seen it, this is for those of you that are just now joining the show, today is or this weekend is move-in weekend for the Cats. We've already got Mason Williams, Alex Wilkins, Jerome Morton, Malachi Moreno, and Reese Potter on campus. So this is kind of the first we've heard from Mason Williams since joining the Cats here as far as speaking on the Cats.
What's up, BBN? Mason Williams here. Just got moved in. Excited to get to work. One thing y'all should know about me is I'm the hardest worker, and I'm ready to meet the guys, get on the floor, and practice. What's up, BBN? Mason Williams here. Just got
heard him say he's ready to get on the floor and start practicing. They will start practicing for the summer on June 15th. There's a picture of Alex Wilkins and his mom. And here's Alex Wilkins and what he had to say.
Moved in, excited to get to work. One thing about me, I'm
Alex Williams doesn't seem to be as loud. This is the same volume I had it on for Mason Williams, so you're going to have to listen closely. Here's Alex Wilkins.
But yeah, Alex Wilkins here. Just got moved in, excited to get to work. One thing about me, I'm here to win games. I'm excited to get the season going. But yeah, Alex Wilkins here. Just got moved in, excited to get to work. One thing about me, I'm here to win games. I'm excited to get the season going.
All right. I had to listen to that again because I couldn't say. He said one thing about me. He said, I'm excited to win games. So Reese Potter didn't do a video because he was already there last year. There's Malachi arriving. There's Drone Morton and his family, and here's Drone.
What's good, BBN? Jerome Morton here. Glad to be here on campus, ready to meet everybody, ready to get practice going. One fun fact about me is that this is a dream come true for me, and I'm from the city of Lexington, so let's get this thing going. Let's do it. What's good, BBN? Jerome Morton here.
He says, let's get this thing going. Let's do it. So I always like watching those videos because I think you can kind of tell their excitement. I think you kind of get a good idea of just how excited they are to be on campus. Well, we've only got not one of them. We've got a few more that'll. You'll hear something from Chilovich tomorrow. He arrives on campus on the 6th. We should have already heard. I think Kepnong has already sent something out a few days ago, but usually you hear one of them saying they know the assignment. The assignment is to win number 9. Number 9 is the goal. Anything less is intolerable from the BBN. The BBN will call you out personally, athletically, and everything in between if you don't come here to win number 9. That's what he should have said. But, I just feel like, and I said it earlier, I hate the feeling, but like, we've had a lot of good things happen this week as far as, learning about the SEC ACC Challenge. For those of you that are just getting in here, we're going to Virginia. I feel like, Virginia is one of those opponents that can be a very tough game to watch because they're defensive minded, defensive oriented. They want to hold you in the 50s or 60s. If Kentucky can get you up and down the floor in transition and get up in the 80s and 90s, I think that's one game Kentucky can win by. I'm not going to say win by a lot, but I think they can separate themselves, win with some distance. Icon, they'll be all in now until Kentucky loses a game, and then it'll be Pope's fault. Momcilovic ain't that good. Zoom Diallo sucks. It'll be that kind of stuff. You'll hear it again from BBN. Wait, you'll hear it. I hope we don't. I hope BBN learns that, it ain't over till it's over. Meaning, they were voicing their displeasure in the recruiting period in the offseason. And then, when it came down to it, we got everybody we wanted, other than Stokes. There were some others I would say that we wanted, but we didn't get. But we got people that can replace them. And I told you all from day one, I'd much rather have Momcilovic than Stokes next year in college. I'd rather not hear them say that. The path to 9 is putting up the work now, getting better, gelling together. I don't want talk. Yeah, and that's the one thing I always thought was kind of funny because, you get these guys that are new on campus and new on the team. Somebody has to be telling them, hey, throw this in there or put this in there, say this, refer to this, because I'd say some of those guys didn't know how many championships Kentucky had before arriving on campus. Some of these guys they're still fairly young. Some of these guys may not even remember when John Wall was on the floor at Kentucky in 2010. That was 16 years ago. Some of these kids that are freshmen, sophomores are probably 20, 21. They were less than 5 years old, You know what? I don't follow anybody other than Kentucky. If I see somebody, I've started getting rid of all the Louisville fans because, all the Louisville fans turned quickly as soon as he committed to Kentucky. Well, he couldn't have started for us anyhow. Or Momcilovic, he wasn't going to start, or he couldn't even play for us, that kind of thing. So I'm not buying into that. I just usually make sure I don't see those guys anymore because they wanted him until they couldn't have him. And that's the truth of the matter. Is Reese Potter going to play this upcoming season? Reese Potter is on the team. Reese Potter will be eligible to play, but I think he'll be in the bottom 5. I think he's definitely our third center behind Moreno, Kepnong, and then Reese. Reese Potter did shoot 40% from 3. I think he's got a pretty good basketball IQ. I think he's a good passing big man. There may be some minutes for him, just waiting on what happens. But I want these guys to I truly want these guys to earn their spots and to earn their minutes. I don't want to, that's why I hate, people asking me for a starting lineup or, I don't really know, I really think Cam Williams should start and will start, but there's a lot of people out there that are moving. Alex Wilkins should start, but there's a lot of people out there saying Cam Williams at the 2, and then Mommy at the 3, then Njai at the 4, and Marino at the 5. So I think it just all depends on Pope. I don't think Pope was going to get stuck with having some of the same problems this year as he had last year, which all centered around a lot of it was depth. So I'm a firm believer that, I'll say this. I'd rather have Reese Potter as our third center than Gabe Dines. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I didn't think Gabe Dines was a good fit from the start. Depends on right. And, the one thing I've learned from Cam's dad and Hawthorne's dad by watching them on Big Mike's show, the one thing I've learned is they're very knowledgeable of the game. And neither one of them have said that, they think their kid should start. It's all about hard work. It's all about putting in the time, putting in the work in the gym, getting better. And, and that's the way it should be. And I said at the beginning of this show, when somebody else asked me about the starting lineup, I said, the one advantage Pope has this year is he's got a lot of different lineups he can go to. I mean, he could play McBride at the 4 and not Njai. If he wants to go a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, he can go Njai at the 4. But, our guards are big. We've got to be one of the top 3 or 4 tallest teams in college basketball this year. We've got great size. And I think the one thing that he's done that we probably wanted him to do or asked him to do after last season was to build a roster that had depth and had multiple people at each position. Not only does this roster have depth, this roster also has some versatility on whether if you want to play small or go big. And that'll all be, I'd say, based on matchups. I don't see Pope changing his starting lineup from game to game to game to game, based on those matchups. But I will say the matchups a lot of times will dictate who gets the minutes. For example, say Cam Williams don't start at the beginning of the year, I think he'll be getting starter minutes. So, what's up, Rip? L's up, good people. Well, I don't know about L's up, good people, but we're glad to have you here. We'll talk civilly with you. I have seen a lot of Louisville people out there seem to be pretty upset that Badunga wasn't in the top 10 or 12 players that returned to college this year. I've also seen a lot of heat going on in Arkansas for, Cal not having a legit 5. So, let everybody else worry about their roster now that we've got ours complete. You know what I'm saying? The dads they do. And I think this is one, in a lot of instances and cases this year, or not this year, but I'd say nowadays, the last 5 years or so, I would say that a lot of parents do more harm than good with their kids during recruiting period by the way they act, how they talk on social media, their behaviors. But also will say that these two guys here, They seem to let Pope coach. They seem to have trust in Pope. They say the right things to their kids, get in there and work, put the work in, you'll be rewarded. So, I mean, I definitely think those two guys are parenting the right way. Pope's got every chess piece this year. I definitely think we got the pieces we need. Right now, we're ranked 17th in the country, going from unranked. I think we moved from like 44th to 17th or something. Depends on whose rankings you follow. I'm not going to tell you which rankings to follow because honestly, none of these rankings mean a lot to me. And that's just my opinion because you can go 25 different people's rankings to have 25 different sets of rankings, and they just don't mean a whole lot other than a good talking point. But it's good to see Kentucky go from 44 to 17th, and I actually think Kentucky's going to finish a lot higher than 17th, just for the simple fact that I think their ceiling got a lot higher this past week. Yeah, I definitely think that Indiana's also in there, which I don't know if you consider them a good non-conference person, but Indiana is on our non-conference schedule. I don't know if you consider them a good team or a bad team or whatever, but but yeah, we'll add somebody else. I don't know if it'll be St. John's, but we are losing Gonzaga. I think Pope may try to find somebody that, I'd like to see BYU come to Rupp. I think Cam starts, in my opinion. I think our best five has Cam in it. Now, this is the whole reason why I've talked about on the show multiple times that, part of the NIL deals or part of the when you sit down at that table at the end of the period or the recruiting period when they're talking about possibly signing or, you get to the point where you've offered them, you want to get them, to be a part of the team or to sign, you start talking money, you start talking, the contracts in general. But then a lot of coaches are out there promising starting spots or whatever. I'm not a fan of the promising of the starting spots, so I don't know what Pope's told players. Obviously, if he's promised some of these guys who I don't project to start, that may make Cam come off the bench. But I do think Cam will play starter minutes. He may play more minutes than some of the starters, even if he don't start. But I think the problem we're going to have is how is Pope going to get our rotation down to 7 or 8 by the NCAA tournament? I just don't think we can play 9 or 10 consistently and win 6 games in a row to cut down the nets for number 9. I'm more of a shorter rotation come tourney time. I like that Pope tries to get maybe 10 or 11 in the game early on in some of these non-conference games where we're probably going to blow them out anyhow. But no, absolutely not. 100% no. Only time you're doing a platoon system if you're trying to keep 10 guys happy, but in the end you start making the majority of them unhappy. Because, there were a lot of times that year where I felt like, it wasn't your turn to play, but let's just say the first 5 jumps out to say a 14-4 lead. Aaron Harrison hits 2 threes, then the media timeout hits. Well, he goes straight to the bench. Like those substitutions and stuff like that's already predetermined, and it's almost like what Pope did last year. And no, I'm not for that at all. Yeah, I think it's good for us to get back in the series with Indiana, because when Indiana's good, that's a very good game, a good rivalry game. Yeah, I definitely think 2015 was the, and I'm not going to 100% say that the platoon system cost us a national championship, but I know there were a lot of games Booker didn't get the minutes he probably needed. Same thing with Euless. Then you got the Harrisons and Carl Anthony Towns, Trey Lyles, those guys, a lot of times they didn't get a chance to, I guess, sometimes by the time they started to cook, it was time to come out. So, they didn't win a national championship, Chris. They had the best team in college basketball by far. But no, Kentucky don't have 10 guys that deserve equal minutes. I'm not counting out the Spurs just yet. Spurs don't win tonight, they got problems. I can tell you that. They can't lose 2 in a row at home, that's for sure. So, but either way, no matter how the I would say no matter how the NBA finals go, you're getting either Carl Anthony Towns a championship or you're getting Fox and Keldon Johnson a championship. So, to be quite honest with you, I'm okay with either one that wins. I'm a Celtics fan, so if the Celtics don't win, I don't really pay much attention or keep up with it. But the Knicks are currently up 7 in the third right now, 61-54. Carl Anthony Towns already got 19 and 9. So, the one thing we've seen from Carl Anthony Towns, one of the knocks on him out of college was he was too soft. He's been taking it right at Wemby, and Wemby's been struggling. Wemby's only shot 6 field goal attempts tonight. So, somebody's playing pretty good defense. I'm not watching the game, so I couldn't tell you. Well, I don't think we saw Keldon's best either. He was a different style of player and kind of, I like Keldon, but he wasn't one of my favorites at Kentucky by any stretch of the imagination. Holly's rooting for Cat in the Knicks. Like I said, I'm okay with whatever there because I know that somebody from Kentucky is getting a national championship. So if they can't get it in college, I just assume they get it in the pros. Yeah, the Knicks got rid of Randall to get Carl Anthony Towns. Randall's one of those guys in the league that a lot of if you talk to a lot of other players don't like playing with Randall, for whatever reason. He's kind of a black hole. He likes to dribble. He likes to lower his head and go to the basket. He's not the greatest passer. Not that he can't pass. He chooses not to a lot of time. Tomorrow, David turns 62. Well, happy birthday, David. Yeah, I can't disagree either, but still, I'm not a fan of the platoon. Won't ever be a fan of it. We don't have 10 guys that are all good enough to platoon next year. In my opinion, anyhow. I guess we'll wait and see how the season goes, but Reds are blowing it against the Cardinals. They were up 3-0 in the first. Got a bad call in the bottom of the first saying that South Stewart's foot wasn't on first base to get him out of the inning. They challenged it, and his foot looked clearly on the base, but they didn't overturn it. And now they're down 5-3. So if you're new here, please give me a like and subscribe. We've got 3 new subscribers so far tonight. That's always great. That's kind of what I was hoping for, Chris. Not going to lie. I was kind of hoping that Ellie would be back sooner than they thought. But, if Ellie's going to be out, Suarez has to do something. His bat has to get going. Bad thing about it is the Reds are one game above 500 and 6.5 games out of first, and then last place in the division. So yeah, their bullpen started out the best bullpen in the majors. Now they're one of the worst. If I watch this game and somehow the Reds rally and they bring in Tony Santillan in the ninth again, I may have a broken TV. But that may not happen if you're just now tuning into the Reds. Tito got thrown out in the first inning, arguing the replay, which I guess is a no-no. You're not allowed to argue the replay. He didn't even really get too animated before the umpire threw him out. So, yeah, I know the All-Star break, a month away? But it seems like that thread they're holding on to is getting shorter and shorter. And I hate that, but that's just the reality of it. I mean, they don't seem to get the timely hits. Their starting pitching is go look at some of those other pitchers that they've DFA'd. I mean, they keep bringing in these. Listen, their AAA organization's got to be terrible. They have no pitchers that they can bring up to even get an out. 6'3". Yeah, but they had a picture. I think his name Junior Marte. His ERA was like 186 or something. Maybe only pitched 1/3 of an inning, but gave up like 7. I don't know. Gave up an ungodly amount of runs, but it's just still, Francona is supposed to be a Hall of Fame manager. No, Ellie's injured for a while. He'll be out a while. Listen, the Reds are putting out a AAA lineup a lot of nights. They have too many guys that need to be sent down. They got too many of them. They can't send them all down. They ain't got nobody to replace them with, and then it just absolutely frustrates me. But, I've been disappointed with Francona. Some of the decisions he's made as a Hall of Fame manager, has been some of the decisions I feel like has cost the Reds games. Like the other night when they were up 1 run, they brought in Junior Marte in a 1-run game, and he gave up like 5 or 6 before he recorded an out. First major, that was his debut. Do you think Kentucky? Yeah, Kentucky's got a better roster than Louisville does. So yeah, I definitely think that Kentucky beats Louisville. Although, it's a rivalry game. Sometimes the best roster don't win, but Kentucky's dominated that series. I look for us to be motivated, ready to play, and yeah, we're going to beat Louisville at home. Well, David, who is? That's not a fair comparison. Even in 1990, when they won the World Series, they weren't the Big Red Machine. My gosh, Big Red Machine had like 5 or 6 Hall of Famers, maybe more. Maybe all 9 of them were Hall of Famers. Who knows? But yeah, that's kind of a little unfair. Suarez has been playing some third base. He's actually not doing bad. Sal Stewart switches back and forth between first and third. They got up, everybody cried for Marte to be up in the major leagues. He didn't do nothing. They brought him back up because they sent Friedel down, who was doing nothing. Edwin Arroyo, they've been wanting up. He just got his second big league hit tonight. He's like 2 for 20-something. It just seems like, yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Yeah. I'm excited for football too, not going to lie. Eric Davis is my favorite Red of all time. Doesn't look good, Josh. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. They were up 3-0. Now they're down 6-3. Their record's actually better with Hayes than it is without Hayes. Tell me that ain't hard to believe. Big fan of Larkin. Big fan. I'd like to have tried it though, to be quite honest with you. I would have liked to have tried it, I think. Maybe not. Yeah, that's it, Bruce. I agree 100%. He knew he couldn't argue that challenge, but he did so anyhow. But yeah, I agree. Frustration just, you can only, for example, like David Johnson, who is the Reds pitching coach, he just took a personal leave of absence. And to be honest with you, the thing that I first thought about is, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to watch them pitch either. I'd say, some of their pitching's led to that stress. I liked old Pete Harnish. Remember Aaron Harang? I went to several games at Riverfront. Up here, I only live about 40 minutes from, maybe 50 minutes from the stadium. So we go. I'm not gonna say a lot, but I'm actually going on June 22nd because my daughter getting ready going to high school got straight A tickets, and I think I picked to watch against the Brewers because when I signed up for the tickets, the Reds were hot. I think they were like 20-11 when I got the tickets. I thought they're gonna be battling for a place in the division. I want to watch them play the Brewers, and then hell, the Brewers are continued going upwards and the Reds are going backwards. So we went last year and they got beat 4-1. I don't remember who I watched them play last year. Maybe the Marlins. I don't remember. How many games will Stokes sit out this year? That's a good question. To be quite honest with you, Stokes, Darren Peterson kind of set the precedence for Kansas. I think with Stokes, I think it will be it'll all determine how Kansas does. If Kansas is winning, playing well, then he's going to be in there. But, if their roster is what I think it is, and they win some games, maybe back into the top 25, they are Kansas. They're still going to be, average. I don't see them win the Big 12, and I just don't think their roster's solid all the way around. They got a couple nice players, but I think it all depends with Stokes. I think he's one of those guys that if things are going well, he's going to be in there. He's going to be playing. If not, I can see him sitting out. Loved Ryan Friel. Nobody played the game any harder than he did. Yeah, and I would hope that this load management crap would never have came to the college game, because I'm thinking at the NBA level, as much as those guys are getting paid, they could get out there and play. Just like, for example, I don't know if you all saw it just a week or so ago with the Indiana Fever. And I don't think it's load management. I think there's other things going on. But, like, they didn't announce till like an hour before the game that Caitlin Clark wasn't playing. What's that do for all the people who traveled to Indianapolis to watch her play? I just think that was kind of a raw deal. Stokes will sit if he hits a matchup that makes him look bad. He's egotistical for sure. Jiminy Christmas. The Reds' last two pitchers have thrown a wild pitch. I mean, holy moly. There ain't no way this catcher's catching those balls. very egotistical. So if things aren't going his way, I can see him being a type that would whine and, want to sit out or whatever. But I think his games will be dictated by the by how the season goes for Kansas. Josh, I don't really know, honestly. I try to go live a couple times during the week and usually on Sunday nights. So I'll probably go live again on Sunday. We went live on Monday for the Momchilovich commitment. Then, I had basketball camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I had a day planned with my daughters yesterday. And, so that left open for tonight. So I usually announce on Twitter and Facebook if I'm going live. But it's always going to be a couple times during the week and probably on Sunday. Stokes and Taylor Kenny when they're going, I hope not. But I honestly, I don't think Taylor Kenny's ever really had much of a problem. From what I've heard or gathered, I think he's pretty coachable. Oh man, after a wild pitch, they put the bases loaded on a walk, then he hit the next batter. Bases still loaded, 7-3. Eddie Taubin, I can't argue. Tyler Stevenson has so much hype and upside, but I was a fan of Joe Oliver too. So, but the Kentucky men's all-star team just doesn't seem to compete with Indiana very, very often. Yeah, they have, Bruce. Yeah, they have. How many of you all have spent some time? It was Brad, the animal, Leslie. Brad, not Brian. How many of you all have had a chance to play with that Kentucky roulette or whatever that thing is, where you get to pick the lineups trying to go 40-0? The Reds are now officially turned off, 8-3. Have you all seen that? I think it's called something roulette, maybe basketball roulette. I know they got one for the NBA and they got one for Kentucky, to where you put I've not done it. It's an all-time top 5 lineup trying to go undefeated. And almost every lineup I've seen in Kentucky, it's had Dan Issel in it. So what's up, Eric? How you, man? There it is. Big Blue Roulette. Yeah, I've not done it. I've seen everybody post their results, though, and I've looked at them. It just seems like a lot of their results are got Dan Issel in them. I think that's funny. But some of the ones you've seen, like I saw one with Issel and Anthony Davis in it, and that wasn't even a 40-0. It was like maybe a 36-4 or something. Definitely do. Didn't play. Yeah, I get a kick out of it. Yeah, I don't have. If I started playing it, here's what would happen. If I started playing it, I would not be able to quit till I got a 40-0 team. I would literally lose sleep. Cliff Hagan and Issel was on the 140-0 team that I saw. Tony Delk, Cliff Hagan, Issel, Mashburn, and I think Irving Thomas maybe. That's a name from the past. Issel's the other. Yeah, right. It'd be hard not to include him. I agree. You mean Instagram? You have Instagram? That is it? Yeah, I don't do Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I basically just do Twitter and Facebook. I don't really know a whole lot about social media. I'm a little bit older. I don't do all the kids' social media. I just know what I know from the basketball kids I coach and my own daughters about the instant gratification and how they got to show everything. If they get their nails done, it's got to be on their story or something or another. Or Knicks are up 6 with 1:50 to go in the third. 78-72. 80-72 now. If the Knicks go up 2-0, it may be a sweep. I hate to say it, but it may be a sweep. Two subscribers from 700. If you are new here, please give me a like and subscribe. Please like the YouTube presentation or the YouTube show. If you do happen to get it, Josh, I'll show you right now. Hold on here. Let me see if I do it like this. All right, there you go, Josh. If you see the bottom left corner there, you see my X names. Jalen Brunson is tough. Coming out of Villanova, and he had a couple rough years to start, but, man, he's put in the work. He's really good. Is that a 40-0 team there? Issel, AD, Cat, Mash, and Wayne Turner? I can't imagine anybody beating them, but if you put them into Big Blue Roulette, is that a 40-0 team? I honestly just do Twitter because I've got like 3,500 followers and it's easy for me to get the show out there. Most of the people on Twitter will see if I put it out there. Just basically like if I do hashtag BBN or or I tag the men's basketball team. A lot of the Kentucky fans that follow me or follow them see the show, and that's how most of them tend to join. That's the way I feel about Snapchat, honestly. I can see why Snapchat gets a lot of kids in trouble. Just because anything that's designed or set up to delete after you send it, nothing good's coming from that. Especially as a kid. What was I looking at here? I will say this. We've had close to 75 people watching most of the night. Only got 30 likes. If you've not liked the show, give me a like sometimes before you leave. It also helps reach out. it also helps us reach a larger audience to where we get more people in here, better conversation, things like that. Kat says, I've got 40-0 with Wall, Sky, Mash, Cotton. Okay, that's one, and that's without Issel. Shebway? Oscar Shebway? David putting up the power K. That's right. I can only see the emojis on YouTube. Holly, where's Crash at tonight? I just opened Big Blue Roulette. They added Matt Jones mode. No Dan Issel. That's funny. I was going to say, because everything I saw had Dan Issel in it. But I was glad to see that Cats by 90 put one up there that had no Dan Issel, and it was a 40-0. Shout out to whoever made that. Pretty creative. Hope everything's all right. It's not like him not to pop in, but he could be. Hey, we could do to him what he does to you, Holly. He's probably at TGI Fridays throwing back shots with his friends. It's probably what he's doing. David, go out there with them and tell them it's your birthday and go ahead and celebrate. Live stream it on Facebook. Yeah, I got in trouble for my video last week on Mom Chilovich. I guess celebration was the video I chose was copyrighted. That's my luck. Had to take it down. Yeah, I saw him on there. I watched some of it. I don't call in or anything, but I watch. Big Mike's a good dude. Big Mike is a good dude. I like Big Mike. Never mind. I take everything back I said about Big Mike. He's not a good dude. I'm just kidding. No, David's in Maysville. He's in Maysville. The new version of Riverside. Yeah, I think Riverside's free, but a lot of people told me it's not very easy to use. Mommy and her kittens are going to start summer practice June 15th, Peanut. We should start seeing some I think honestly that we should be seeing some video clips coming out June 15th of how practice is going. I'm excited about that. Hopefully we can see June 6th tomorrow, but hopefully we can see him play in action this summer if Pope can get us in some. I think it's almost too late now, but yeah, we talked about this, and we actually kind of had, I'm not going to say it was split 50-50, but we had people that saw both sides of the coin, had a pretty civil conversation. Some guy, Samuel, coming in, I don't think he liked that we disagreed with him, and he seemed to be upset that his opinion was different than ours. But quite honestly, I thought it was all in good fun. I thought there was no malintent out of it. I thought it was And I made the point of even saying that the only reason anybody's saying anything at all is because it's the coach's daughters. If it was Oway coming back as a former player and doing it, or if it was one of this year's players that played last year, like Marino doing it, nothing would have been said. It all would have been laughed off. They'd laughed about it. He wanted to make the argument that it was going to hurt our recruiting. And I said that I would buy him dinner at a restaurant of his choice if a 27, 28, or 29 recruit says they didn't come to Kentucky because the Pope girls put little yellow Post-it notes over players that transferred out of Kentucky. They did say some things that may be a little, edgy. KY till I quack, or KY until they offer me more money, for Jasper. They called Colin Pigface, but they've known Colin Chandler for a while now. He was with Pope at BYU. He's been here with Pope for 2 years. These girls, being the coach's daughter, have more interaction with these players than most. So I honestly believe that it was all in good fun. Now, did some of them maybe get their feelings hurt? Maybe. Did Pope reprimand his daughters and maybe make them take it off and apologize? Maybe. But I think anybody that's reading too far into that, I think if they're looking too far into that, I think they're wasting their time and energy. Put it towards something a little bit more constructive. I don't think there's anything to look into. I actually laughed about it. Everyone's poking at their dad. I will be 71 tomorrow. Well, happy birthday, JJ and Papa. Happy birthday. Well, somebody said that Mo Diabate and Brandon Garrison saw it and was upset about it. I don't have any proof of that. I'm not saying it's not true, because with the internet nowadays and with social media, you don't even have to follow certain people to see things. People can screen record and send it to you. People you follow can share it just so you see it. So, I hate it because I hate it for Mo that if he was upset, because Mo gave us everything he had. I don't think Mo could start for this year's team. I'd love to have his toughness and energy maybe coming off the bench, but I'm happy with our roster, happy with what we have. And I wish Mo the best in LSU. I think he went to a good spot to have a chance to earn him some playing time. So, if he's too upset or too pissed off about it, maybe when we play LSU this year, he'll come in with a chip on his shoulder, and maybe they'll lose by 25 instead of 35. Yeah, that was the one that I thought Jasper, because, Jasper being from the state of Kentucky, I actually liked the KY till I die motto that he came in with. I thought it was a good motto that you could put on shirts, market and sell. And I've seen a lot of people with that shirt. So he did market it. He did probably sell quite a bit of them. But however, in this day and age, I probably wouldn't put that I was, somewhere till I die, for the simple fact that, in the transfer portal days, anybody can get up and leave at any time. So no. And I'd say, Ryan Hampton's on campus now, and if he saw that video, he would laugh. He would chuckle. I don't think there's anybody going to say, well, I didn't go to Kentucky and I didn't sign with Pope because his daughters were being mean to the players that transferred out. No. Agree. Everybody does this now. If you make your money being a content creator and you make a lot of your money doing that, you're putting out clickbait just because you've already built you an audience. 2, you've already got a loyal following that's probably going to click and hang on to every word you say. You almost just, almost if it's something about Kentucky out there, whether it be negative or positive. A lot of people's putting it out there because they know the Big Blue Nation is going to click on it. It moves the needle a lot. Big Blue Nation does, is what I mean. Yeah, I think Jasper. I think Jasper's one that, I think it started out to where, the game against Purdue was the best game he had all year. Then he was forced to kind of play out of position some. It didn't go well. He didn't play well. Then, I don't know if he thought being from Kentucky would take some of the heat off of him from the fans, but I think some of the fans piled on him more. And I don't know if it's because he got butt hurt. I just think he probably said, I don't have to put up with that. I'm not going to listen to that. I've not heard anything either. Because we could honestly make a case that Kentucky's better at every position. Kentucky's better at every position than what they were last year. And Pope deserves some credit for that. But they were quick to pile on Pope when Pope wasn't signing, when Pope was, and I air quote this, when Pope was whiffing on all those recruits they thought he was whiffing on. They were quick to pile on him then, but when he got Momcilovic, and we've got the roster we've gotten, which I think our roster is solid. We've got, in my opinion, we've got depth. We've got some versatility and flexibility as far as positions. We're not going to be in a situation again where we have to play people out of position. I don't agree with this statement. I don't think he whiffed a bunch. I'll be the first to tell you, I didn't think he was going to turn out the way it did, but it's not a whiff every time you just reach out to somebody and they choose a different school. I think he whiffed on Stokes. But if he reached out to somebody just to gauge interest and he talked to him, like, for example, Gabe Dines, that's not a whiff. It's not a whiff. First of all, Pope and them told him to leave. Second of all, I truly believe that, every school in the country talks to a lot of players during recruiting time. I think you have to make a concerted effort on the players in order to be considered a whiff. It can't be just because they choose another school over you. That's not a whiff. I think there were times, that freshman class that was really talented this year. There were times when, they had games that they struggled. Now, there weren't as many, but I think a lot of these incoming freshmen are coming into a man's game now with the transfer portal. A lot more people are staying for their, sophomore, junior seasons because they're able to make more money as a pro. They're able to make more money returning to college as they would if they were to be a second-round draft pick or not drafted at all. But I know I'm not so sure Tate Kenny's a problem, but I have heard there are some people in his camp that can be problems. So I'm curious to see. But he's from Newport, Northern Kentucky area. That's where he played high school ball. And then, of course, Stokes is from Louisville, so they got two Kentucky guys. So a lot of, somebody said earlier that a lot of Kansas people or fans are chirping online about how two Kentucky boys are going to whip Pope to start the year off, which I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what some are thinking. I think we're better than Kansas before Momchilovich. We're definitely better. Top 3 portal classes are Louisville, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Yeah, Louisville ended up being a couple hundredths of a point, maybe, better than Kentucky. Tennessee's right behind. I saw an interview Dines did with USC before the season. He requires 12 hours of sleep. I'm actually jealous of that. I'm actually jealous of that. That's pretty impressive. But, I wasn't upset. I didn't find it a bit deflating that Gabe Dine signed with Louisville. I don't actually think that he's going to – I don't think he was going to help us much. And he's probably the third center on Louisville's team behind Badunga and then Akizi or Abina Akizi. So, he's third, I guess, third in line there too. So, yeah, Louisville and Tennessee had good years too, David. That's for sure. Tennessee is what I say, 1-6 against Pope. And also, I didn't mention this earlier, but I did say that Momchilovich would be on campus tomorrow. He actually signed. He has signed with Kentucky as of today. So everything seems to be good on that front. Six minutes to go in the fourth, and the Knicks are up 95-83. So, kind of looks like the Knicks may. Jimmy Jam got with me right before I went on the show and said that he'd been up since 6 and he wouldn't be awake at 9 o'clock. So we're going to have to push him back to see if maybe he comes on another time. But yeah, we had it all set. Sorry, my screen locked up there. But yeah, had it all set. I said he was up since 6 a.m. He was tired and he wouldn't be awake at 9. So I tried to tell him it was Friday. Everybody's awake at 9 on a Friday, but okay. Did we play the NCAA tournament or did we play him in the SEC tournament? I thought I read somewhere where Tennessee was 1-6 against Mark Pope. That he is. Jimmy Jam ain't no night owl. That's what he told me. But, okay, 1-4. My bad. Okay, 1-4 against Tennessee. Or Tennessee's 1-4 against Pope. I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect I didn't expect. All right, Josh. I didn't expect the Spurs to lose 2 games in a row at home. That's for sure. And I'm not saying that this game's over yet, but down 12. If they won the one in the NCAA tournament, Peanut, then yeah, they won the one that matters. That's for sure. That is for sure. Click the wrong button. Yeah, I'm ready for the NBA to be done and ready for the Peach Jam to finish, because after the Peach Jam finishes, we'll be ready to get Jamal Crawford on staff, but it'll be after the Peach Jam. No, I didn't watch any of it. I saw that we got beat by 23, which we never seemed to beat Indiana consistently, so I'm not surprised by that. But yep, I sure do, because it's what have you done for me lately? He could have went to the Elite Eight the first year. If he got beat in the round of 32 this year, get rid of him. He can't coach. Can't coach. Can't recruit. Can't coach. Can't recruit. Can't coach. So sick of hearing that. I mean, we still got some people out there on Twitter calling for Pope's job now, you know? So I'm glad to see that Karl Anthony Towns is playing like a man. Because I'll be honest with you, in the few games I watched of I wouldn't say games, the few moments of games I watched of OKC versus San Antonio, it seemed to me like Wemby just flat out broke Chet. Like Chet Holmgren was not the same player. I think Wemby broke him. 106 to 106-83, David. But the Kentucky girls won on a last second shot. Phoenix, I believe, Phoenix Suns. He's the one player that I don't think that I think that Cal truly did hold back. I'm not saying it was on purpose, but I'm saying that we could have got a lot more out of Cat at Kentucky. How do you guys feel? Some of you are new. If you're new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 700 subscribers tonight. I'm currently on 698. Okay, Josh, then I post updates all the time, so you'll see when I'm doing the show. You're not going to. What you've heard is what you're going to get. Kentucky, some of the players supposedly got into a little altercation with some Louisville fans, and they got too hyped up, and the adrenaline was too much, and they just never really was able to get anything going after that, as according to Pope. I don't think you're ever going to hear anything different, whether that's true, false, whatever. Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear anything different, honestly, Jay. Can you click on it then? Maybe it's under perks then. Okay, maybe I thought it was under emojis. Maybe it's under perks. Click on it, Peanut. Okay, maybe that's what they did then. I don't know, Roger. I thought I saw 1 and 6, but it could have been 1 and 4. It could have been 1 and 4. Okay. I don't know how some of the others were able to do it. I don't know. Has me perplexed though. Hopefully it works itself out. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that some people have done it because they've put it in the chat and I've seen it. Yeah, but I just changed it today, so I don't know if it takes some time. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Not for sure what's going on. Spurs have cut it to 5. 4 minutes to go. Probably getting a little home cooking. Spurs getting a little home cooking. Clyde said, "Go Knicks." I haven't turned it on yet. I'm just refreshing ESPN. I'm probably not going to turn it on. I'm just checking out the score every once in a while. I kind of wish, like YouTube's been doing some crazy stuff. Like it shows me how many people are watching from Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and everything, but it's only showing on YouTube the number of people watching on YouTube. It's not calculating all of them. I think so, Peanut. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was watching it. 14-0 run, tie ball game. Yep. 97-97. I like how Peanut uses that Power K as his picture there. Roger, you remember the old captain coming out from the dressing room or locker room, limping, willing his team to victory? I remember growing up, my dad telling me about the captain. I remember watching on like anytime they showed any kind of NBA finals highlights, they'd always eventually make their way around to the captain, Willis Reed. Yeah, that would be nice. It's crazy how I need to be at 1,000 members, Holly, so I can get in that redneck brawl. I've been training. I've been training. Me and old Polacek getting in there for a redneck brawl. Yeah. Has anybody been following the the case out of Letcher County where the sheriff shot the judge? If so, go to Court TV on YouTube. But they had a hearing today. They're going to end up moving the if you're from Letcher County and you've not seen it, you may want to pay some interest. They're doing a change of venue, most likely. They did a motion today of a change of venue. They don't think that either side can get a fair trial in Letcher County. They think most people in Letcher County have already formed an opinion whether he's guilty or innocent, which they know he shot him. But I think there's other things that haven't came out yet that we're going to eventually hear. But there was if you go to it's either Law and Crime Trials or Court TV. They'll both have it. Go give it a look if you're into the Mickey Steins and Judge Mullins court case where the sheriff shot the deputy, or the sheriff shot the judge. Shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. That's what I was about to say. Hey, I'm telling you. I think I'm up around 24 or 25 members, but I need up around 300. I'm going to try to get into the Redneck Brawl. I wish our big guy that was in Redneck Brawl was in here. He ain't in here tonight. They've not said that yet. That's what I'm kind of waiting for. Tonight, the defense is trying to get him a bond, and they called in a witness today, which was his aunt who he lives with. And that's who he called on FaceTime from Judge Mullins's judge's chambers before he shot him. He called and made a FaceTime call, and it was actually to his aunt because that's who he's kind of stayed with or stayed with at times and trusted a lot. And she talked about that call and how he was asking about, I think it was her mom who had been passed away for years, and was asking to talk to her and where she was at. And she said he seemed completely out of it. So I think they're trying to set up for obviously a insanity plea. I feel like I've heard of Tropodelic, Jake. Are they from Indiana? Maybe I haven't. If you're on Twitter and you want to see some 30-second footage of Braden Hawthorne, actually his dad put it on there too. Got him got a video of a workout on there that he's been doing. So Ohio. Feel like I've heard of them. The judge actually, they argued this one for a while. The thing that I thought was crazy about this is the defense said they thought a $50,000 bond, cash and property, would be appropriate. And the judge did say that he would take in the arguments into consideration, but he had in mind something a lot different and a lot higher than 50,000. So, but I think they're starting to talk about his health. He's starting to get some really bad sores in some places they talked about that I think honestly he that's what the defense is trying to do, is get him out of there and trying to keep him healthy, I think. I don't know. But you can watch it online. It was a pretty good hearing. Did you see the text messages between Michael Proctor and Sean Good, Holly? She's going to be a rich woman. I can just tell you. She's going to be a rich, rich woman. You can find it anywhere on YouTube. Anybody that's talking about the Karen Reed case, Holly, you need to just to see how they talk about women and people of color, minorities. They were just the most racist, misogynistic two cops that I think that I've seen. So if you're interested in the Karen Reed case, you can definitely see, you'll definitely be able to see the text messages of Michael Proctor because, hold on. Why am I doing that? Hello? I keep freezing at times. I think it's because I'm trying to open ESPN. Sometimes when you open it, that's what happens. But yeah, no, way worse. Just Google search Michael Proctor phone extraction or Michael. They haven't really came out and said yet. No, these are way worse than anything he said about Karen Reed, I think. Just go look. It's awful. I mean, I'm talking about disgustingly awful. I've kind of I'm not watching, but I've been following back and forth on Twitter, or not Twitter, I'm sorry, but ESPN, just the Gamecast. And then I'd go check Twitter and look, and a lot of people are saying the same thing. They really want the Spurs to win. You know, they probably want it to go 7 games. The more games it goes, the more money they make. The NBA, that is, off ticket sales, concessions, merchandise. If I'm the Spurs coach here, I go for a 2-for-1 situation. They got about 13, 14 seconds to do it. That's something we can agree on, Clyde. That's something we can agree on. Holly, it's awful. You really check it out when you get a chance, or if you go to YouTube, you can probably type in Michael Proctor, and you probably get a whole list of things. Or Sean Good with an E, Goode. He was a Canton police officer, and Proctor was Massachusetts State Police, and they were the 2 investigators in the Karen Reed case. But they've also been investigators in, but basically, Proctor texted Good and said, I see you're on this case where there's a black person involved. He said, don't rush to get there. Let him die. Stuff like that. Like racist, misogynistic, just nonsense. So I guess the Spurs didn't score, Peanut. Oh, Wemby must have bricked. Wemby shot a brick. So they did the 2-for-1, it looks like, but let's see what happens here. And the one thing about Brunson is he's kind of got that stone cold dog in him. Dog in him. He'll hit a tough shot with contact, without contact, fading away over top of somebody 6'10". He's a winner. He is a winner. What happened, Peanut? I see there's only 9 seconds left now. Do the Spurs got the ball? So it's the Knicks ball? Yep. Oh, they fouled. Knicks score. Oh, that's a bad deal. That's not a good look for the they want the Spurs to win crowd. Not a good look. I can't. Did he? Oh, so he only made one? Who was shooting? Chris Dudley? I see the score, but who missed the big shot? Brunson. Wow. I would like to see the Spurs win, but I don't see them doing it. I'm curious. Let me know who takes this final shot here. I'm curious to see what happens here, who they go to. I would hope they don't go to – I'd hope they go to Castle or somebody else. Let Wemby get the offensive rebound. Up, game over. Knicks win. Knicks win. Knicks win. 105-104. Knicks win. Knicks win. Spurs may get swept now, guys. Spurs may get swept. Going back to Madison Square Garden, may get swept. They did go to Wemby, huh? Huh. Okay. All right, guys. 11:30. 2 hours and 25 minutes. I got to get up early, take my daughter to work tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. But before you leave, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll probably be back here on Sunday with another edition. So until then, stay tuned and stay hot.